What if the woman mocked as a gold digger at her own divorce party was actually the secret benefactor who paid for everything her husband's family owned? Sofia Chen endured 3 years of insults, believing love would conquer all. But when she finally signed those papers, her billionaire father arrived to reclaim every single thing she'd given them. They never saw it coming. This is Elmerem Stories, where African folktales meet real-life lessons that will change how you see the world. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now, let's begin. The Christmas lights twinkled mockingly across the Hartley family mansion as Sofia Chen stood in the grand living room, her hand trembling over the divorce papers. The laughter and champagne glasses clinked around her, but the sound felt distant, hollow. Her 6-month pregnant belly pressed against the elegant maternity dress she wore, the same dress Diane Hartley had sneered at earlier, calling it desperate and cheap. Marcus stood beside the marble fireplace, his arm casually draped around Vanessa's waist. The woman wore a red dress that cost more than most people earned in a month, her lips curved in a smile that never reached her eyes. Sofia's husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, didn't even have the decency to hide his mistress at his family's Christmas party. He wanted her to see. He wanted her to hurt. Sofia picked up the gold pen, its weight familiar in her palm. She had held pens like this before, signing checks, approving donations, reviewing contracts in her father's office during summer breaks from university. But Marcus and his family knew nothing about that life. They knew only the stories she had told them. Orphan daughter of modest means, working as a teacher, grateful to marry into the Hartley family's wealth and status. The lies had protected her heart once. Now they felt like chains. Diane Hartley, Marcus's mother, stood near the Christmas tree with her sister and 2 friends, their voices carrying across the room with practiced cruelty. They weren't even trying to whisper anymore. "I told Marcus from the beginning," Diane said, adjusting her diamond necklace. "That girl trapped him with a pregnancy." "What kind of woman does that?" "A desperate one," her sister replied. "Poor Marcus, stuck with her and that child." Sofia's hand paused over the paper. Her throat tightened, but she refused to let them see her cry. Not again. Not after 3 years of swallowing their insults, their condescension, their constant reminders that she should be grateful they accepted someone like her. Someone like her. If only they knew. Marcus walked over, his cologne expensive and overwhelming. He had always worn too much, trying too hard to project success. Sofia used to find it endearing. Now it made her nauseous. "Sign it, Sofia," he said, his voice low and impatient. "Stop dragging this out. You're embarrassing yourself." She looked up at him, really looked at him, and wondered when she had stopped recognizing the man she married. Had he always been this cold? Had love simply blinded her to the truth her father had tried to warn her about? Victor Chen had opposed the marriage from the start. He had hired investigators, presented her with reports about Marcus's gambling debts, his string of failed business ventures, his family's declining fortune masked by borrowed luxury. But Sofia had been 23 and in love, convinced her father was being controlling and paranoid. So she had run, cut off contact, changed her name, built a new identity as Sophia Williams, a simple teacher with no family and modest dreams. And Marcus had pursued her with flowers and poetry and promises that felt like destiny. The irony tasted bitter now. Sofia signed the first page, then the second, her signature neat and controlled despite the storm raging inside her chest. Around the room, the Hartley family watched with barely concealed satisfaction. Marcus's younger brother whispered something to his wife, and they both laughed. Finally, Diane announced to the room, "My son is free from this gold-digging leech." Sofia finished the last signature and set down the pen. She stood slowly, one hand supporting her belly, and met Diane's eyes across the room. "I'm not the gold digger in this story," Sofia said quietly. Her voice didn't shake. "But you'll understand that soon enough." Marcus scoffed. "What's that supposed to mean? Are you threatening us now? You have nothing, Sofia. No family, no money, no prospects. You should be thanking us for the years we supported you." Something inside Sofia finally broke free. Not her heart, that had shattered weeks ago when she found Marcus in bed with Vanessa, but something harder, something her father had tried to teach her before she ran away. Dignity has a price, and sometimes you have to demand payment. She pulled her phone from her purse and scrolled to the number she had blocked 3 years ago. Her father had called 17 times in the past month alone, each call a reminder of the bridge she had burned in the name of love. Love that never existed. Sofia pressed dial and lifted the phone to her ear. It rang once before a familiar voice answered, rough with emotion and relief. Sofia? Baby girl, is that you? Tears finally spilled down her cheeks, hot and liberating. Daddy, she whispered. I'm ready to come home. The room had gone quiet, everyone straining to hear. Where are you? Victor Chen's voice sharpened with protective fury. Are you safe? Sofia looked around the mansion one last time, at the family who had tortured her with words and contempt, at the husband who had used her and discarded her, at the life she had built on lies to protect a love that was never real. I'm at the Hartley house, she said clearly, loud enough for everyone to hear. And Daddy, I think it's time they learn the truth about who's been paying for everything. The phone line crackled with dangerous silence. Then Victor Chen laughed, a sound like thunder rolling across distant mountains. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't move, sweetheart. Daddy's coming to bring you home. Sofia ended the call and placed her phone back in her purse. The Hartley family stared at her, confusion beginning to crack through their smugness. Marcus stepped forward, his face pale. What did you just do? Sofia smiled for the first time in months. I called my father. You're about to meet Richard Chen. Diane's champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. The confusion in the room thickened like smoke. Marcus's brother, Derek, laughed nervously and turned to his wife. Richard Chen? Is that supposed to mean something? But Diane had gone completely still, her face draining of color. Her hand gripped the back of a chair, knuckles white against the burgundy velvet. She knew that name. Anyone who moved in real business circles knew that name. You're lying, Marcus said, but his voice had lost its certainty. Your last name is Williams. You told me you had no family. Sofia walked slowly to the window, her hand resting protectively over her belly. Outside, the manicured garden stretched toward the iron gates, decorated with Christmas wreaths and twinkling lights. Beyond those gates, her father was coming. After 3 years of silence, 3 years of stubborn pride and misplaced faith, he was finally coming to take her home. My name was never Williams, Sofia said softly, watching her reflection in the glass. That was the name I chose when I ran away from my father, when I thought I knew better than him, when I believed love was more important than wisdom. She turned to face the room, and something in her posture had shifted. The defeated, pregnant young woman who had signed those papers was gone. In her place stood someone else entirely, someone who had been hiding for 3 long years. My name is Sofia Chen, daughter of Victor Chen, founder and CEO of Chen Industries. My father's net worth is approximately $47 billion, though it fluctuates with the markets. The room erupted in chaos. Vanessa grabbed Marcus's arm, her red dress suddenly looking cheap under the chandelier lights. Derek pulled out his phone, frantically typing. Diane's sister covered her mouth with both hands. Marcus shook his head violently. No, that's impossible. You're a teacher. You lived in that tiny apartment. You drove that old car. You wore thrift store clothes. I did, Sofia agreed. Because I wanted to know what it felt like to be normal. To be loved for myself, not for my father's money. And you know what I learned, Marcus? She stepped closer to him, close enough to see the panic building in his eyes. I learned that you never loved me at all. You just loved what you thought I could give you. Except it turns out, I gave you everything, and you never even knew it. Diane found her voice, shrill and desperate. What are you talking about? We gave you a home. We supported you throughout this pregnancy. Sofia's laugh was bitter and sharp. Supported me? This house, Diane, the one you're standing in right now, do you know who owns it? The older woman's face went gray. It's owned by Prestige Properties Limited, a subsidiary of Chen Holdings. My father bought it 4 years ago when the previous owners defaulted on their mortgage. You've been renting it from one of his companies. Marcus stepped backward, stumbling slightly. That's not true. My father bought this house 20 years ago. Your father lost this house 20 years ago, Sofia corrected gently. He gambled away his shipping business, accumulated massive debts, and sold everything to pay them off. This house went to the bank, then to my father. He's been letting you live here for a fraction of what it's worth. She turned to Diane. And your position at Metropolitan Hospital? The one you're so proud of? The cardiology wing was renovated 3 years ago with a $10 million donation from the Chen Foundation. Part of that donation's terms included funding for 3 senior administrative positions. Yours was one of them. Diane's legs gave out, and she collapsed into the chair she'd been gripping. Marcus, Sofia continued, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. Your job at Hartley Solutions, the tech company you claim to have built yourself? It's venture capital funded. The primary investor is Chen Industries. My father put in $15 million 2 years ago to keep it afloat when you were 3 months from bankruptcy. The room spun with revelations. Derek's phone clattered to the floor. Vanessa released Marcus's arm and took a step back, her expression calculating and cold. Why? Marcus whispered. Why would you do that? Because I loved you, Sofia said simply. Because even after I ran away from my father, even after I cut off all contact and changed my name, he kept tabs on me. He knew I married you. He knew about your family's financial troubles. And when I got pregnant, he started quietly supporting you, hoping it would make me happy. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. He never told me. I found out 6 months ago when I finally answered one of his emails. He sent me documentation of everything. Every payment, every investment, every time he saved you and your family from ruin. All because he loved me and wanted me to be happy, even when I wouldn't speak to him. Marcus's face had gone from pale to red, rage and humiliation warring in his expression. So what? You're going to blackmail us now? Threaten to take it all away unless we what? Beg you to stay? Blackmail. Sofia's voice rose for the first time. I endured 3 years of your mother calling me worthless. 3 years of your family treating me like I was lucky to breathe the same air as you. 3 years of you comparing me to other women, telling me I wasn't sophisticated enough, wasn't pretty enough, wasn't good enough for the Hartley name. Her voice broke. And then you brought your mistress to Christmas dinner while I'm pregnant with your child and mocked me for being a gold digger. You made me sign divorce papers in front of your entire family while they laughed at me. She pressed both hands to her belly, feeling her daughter move inside her. I'm not blackmailing anyone, Marcus. I'm just done protecting you from the truth. The sound of cars pulling up outside drew everyone's attention. Through the window, Sofia watched 3 black SUVs roll through the gates. Her father had arrived. Marcus rushed to the window, his breath fogging the glass. Who is that? How many people did you bring? That's my father, Sofia said quietly. And his legal team. You wanted this divorce, Marcus. You're going to get it. But you're also going to understand exactly what you're losing. The front door opened without anyone answering it. Victor Chen walked in like a storm given human form. He was 62 years old, tall and powerfully built, his gray suit immaculate, his dark eyes scanning the room until they found his daughter. His expression crumbled for just a moment, seeing her tears, her swollen belly, the defeat in her posture. Then his face hardened into something dangerous. Sofia, he said, his voice thick with emotion. He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms, careful of her pregnancy. I'm here, baby girl. I'm here. Behind him, 5 lawyers filed into the room carrying briefcases and tablets. They arranged themselves like soldiers preparing for battle. Victor released Sofia and turned to face the Hartley family. His smile was cold enough to freeze blood. Good evening, he said pleasantly. I believe we have some business to discuss. Victor Chen stood in the center of the Hartley living room like a king surveying a conquered territory. His presence filled every corner of the space, making the mansion suddenly feel smaller, less impressive. Behind him, his lawyers opened their briefcases with synchronized precision, pulling out documents that rustled like whispers of doom. Marcus found his voice first, stepping forward with false bravado. Mr. Chen, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Sofia and I have had our difficulties, but this is a private family matter. Victor's laugh was sharp and humorless. Family matter? You're absolutely right. This is about family. My family. My daughter, whom you've abused and humiliated for 3 years while living off my generosity. He nodded to one of his lawyers, a tall woman with silver hair and eyes like flint. She stepped forward, tablet in hand. Let me make this very simple, Victor said, his voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. This house you're standing in belongs to Prestige Properties Limited, my company. Your lease agreement was signed 3 years ago at well below market value as a courtesy to my daughter. That courtesy ends tonight. Diane found her voice, shaking but defiant. You can't just evict us. There are laws, procedures. The silver-haired lawyer spoke without emotion. Actually, Mrs. Hartley, there's a clause in your lease agreement. Any breach of moral conduct affecting the lessor's family members constitutes grounds for immediate termination. Your treatment of Sofia Chen, documented through text messages, recorded phone calls, and witness statements, qualifies as such a breach. She swiped her tablet. You have 72 hours to vacate the premises. Derek stumbled forward. Wait. We can't just leave. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my concern, Victor said coldly. Perhaps you should have thought of that before treating my pregnant daughter like garbage at a Christmas party. Marcus's face had gone purple with rage and fear. You're doing this out of spite. You can't punish my entire family because your daughter and I didn't work out. I can do whatever I want, Victor replied. I own everything you think you have. He turned to another lawyer, a younger man with glasses. Tell them about Hartley Solutions. The young lawyer cleared his throat. Hartley Solutions received $15 million in venture capital from Chen Industries 2 years ago. The investment agreement includes a clause allowing Chen Industries to recall the investment with 30 days' notice if the company's leadership is found to be acting against the investors' interests. Marcus's legs wobbled. No, you can't do that. We'll go bankrupt. Yes, Victor agreed simply. You will. Consider it done. The recall notice will be filed tomorrow morning. He shifted his attention to Diane, who had begun crying silently, mascara running down her cheeks. And you, Mrs. Hartley, your position at Metropolitan Hospital. Please, Diane whispered. Not my job. I've worked there for 15 years. You've had that job for 3 years, Victor corrected. Before that, you were unemployed after being let go from your previous hospital for mismanagement. The Chen Foundation's donation funded your position. As of tonight, that funding is withdrawn. The hospital administration will receive notice tomorrow. The room felt like it was collapsing. Vanessa had quietly moved toward the door, trying to slip away unnoticed, but Victor's voice stopped her. Miss Reeves, please stay. I have something for you as well. Vanessa froze, her face going white. You work at Grandview Marketing, correct? A firm that handles several of Chen Industries' subsidiary accounts. I wonder how your employers will feel when they learn you've been having an affair with a married client, compromising professional ethics. Vanessa's voice came out as a squeak. You can't do this. I already have, Victor said. Your termination letter will be waiting for you Monday morning. The devastation was complete. The Hartley family stood in ruins, their perfect Christmas party transformed into a nightmare. But Victor wasn't finished. He walked slowly to Marcus, stopping inches from his face. You want to know the real twist in all of this? The final truth that makes everything so much worse. Marcus couldn't speak, could only stare. 3 years ago, when Sofia ran away from me, I was heartbroken, Victor said, his voice heavy with old pain. But I understood. She was young, in love, determined to make her own choices. So I made a choice too. I decided that if she wanted to be with you, I would make sure you could provide for her properly. He gestured around the room. Everything I did, every investment, every payment, every opportunity one gave your family, it wasn't for you. It was never for you. It was for her. So she could be happy. So she could have a comfortable life, while she learned whatever lesson she needed to learn about love and trust. Sofia made a small sound, somewhere between a sob and a gasp. She hadn't known this part. Victor's eyes glistened with tears. I gave you the means to treat my daughter like a queen, Marcus. I handed you everything you needed to make her happy. And instead, you treated her like trash. You brought your mistress to family dinners. You let your mother torment her. You made her sign divorce papers while pregnant, surrounded by people mocking her. He stepped back, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. I gave you the world, and you couldn't even give her basic respect. Marcus fell to his knees, the full weight of his loss finally crushing him. Sofia, please. I didn't know. I didn't understand. We can fix this. Think about our baby. Sofia looked down at him. This man she had loved so desperately. This man who had destroyed her trust so completely. Our baby will carry the Chen name, she said quietly. And when she's old enough to understand, I'll tell her the truth. I'll tell her that her father didn't value her mother. That he chose cruelty over kindness. But I'll also tell her that I chose to walk away, to build a better life, to show her that we don't have to accept mistreatment just because we once loved someone. Victor extended his hand to his daughter. Let's go home, sweetheart. Sofia took her father's hand, and let him guide her toward the door. Behind them, the Hartley family remained frozen in their ruined Christmas party, surrounded by lawyers and the ashes of their borrowed life. Sofia's story teaches us that true wealth isn't found in money or status, but in how we treat the people who love us. The Hartley family had everything they needed to build a beautiful life, yet they chose mockery over kindness, cruelty over compassion. They saw Sofia as beneath them, never realizing she was the foundation holding up their entire world. Sometimes we're so blinded by pride and prejudice that we destroy the very blessings standing right in front of us. Real love doesn't humiliate or diminish, it honors and uplifts. And when we discover we've been wrong, the consequences of our actions become our greatest teachers. Sofia chose dignity over revenge, showing us that walking away from toxicity isn't weakness but the ultimate strength. Like, subscribe, share, and comment the lesson you learned.